People get into DMing for a lot of reasons. Maybe they love world building, role playing, game design, or all of the above. But let's be honest, part of the appeal is getting to impress our friends with whatever crazy tales and thrilling encounters we can come up with. Sure, D&D is just for fun, but it's hard to beat the feeling of having a table full of engaged players who are hanging on every word. In this video, I want to give you some simple, easy to implement things that can help make your sessions even more exciting for your players, keep them glued to the action, and add those little touches that your party will appreciate. Without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to name a few movie franchises. Chances are you'll be a fan of at least one, and I want you to think about them for a moment. Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park. Chances are you can't help but think about them without also hearing their iconic music in your head. Music is a huge part of how we experience and remember things, and that goes for D&D too. Music can immerse your players in the moment, bringing out different emotions and setting the mood for your sessions. Relaxing tones and calming tunes for a travel session, suddenly switch to heart-pounding, intense rock for a roadside ambush, can get your players engaged in whatever's happening right in front of them. This goes for all kinds of background noise too. Calling birds, buzzing insects, and the sounds of rustling trees can make your party feel like they're exploring a sprawling jungle, while creepy footsteps, dripping water, and distant wails will get them appropriately on edge for a deep dive into an ancient crypt. All you need is a Bluetooth speaker and a YouTube playlist, and you're in business. Here's the best part. You don't even have to be in charge of it. You can assign one of your players the role of picking the music and switching things up as necessary. Whether you or a member of your party are serving as DJ, playing music is an excellent way to make your sessions even more immersive. Seasons, holidays, memorials, full moons, one of the most universal things that we do as humans is mark the passing of time. But in D&D, time can feel pretty wishy-washy. Days and weeks of adventuring pass, world-altering events occur, but does anybody know what day it is? If you want to add a little bit of realism to your world that goes a long way, make a calendar for your setting. You don't have to go overboard. You can even just mirror real-world calendars with 12 months and 7 days, but tracking the passage of time can enhance your game in a few ways. First, it gives you a timeline of events that you can reference and build on. You want your players to leave their mark on the world, but a city isn't going to change in a day. Single sessions can sometimes span multiple in-game weeks, or you might run a 3-session dungeon crawl that only lasts a few hours in world. So when your players return to the village they started out in, how much has changed? Have shops opened and closed, children grown up, political upheavals had time to settle? By tracking time, you can decide how much your world and its people have changed based on the party's actions. Beyond tracking the consequences of their actions, a calendar can help you give the players deadlines. Nothing like the fire under a party like hearing you only have 2 weeks until the solstice, and that's when Orcus comes, so plan accordingly. Creating a calendar can help you keep track of the party's due dates and make sure they aren't missing their marks. Maybe most important of all, fleshing out a calendar with holidays, seasons, and important dates can make your players feel like they're exploring a real world. On Earth, think about how many holidays we have, or how many people live by the cycles of our planet. Adding celebrations to your calendar, especially ones your players can participate in, will make your cultures seem even more vibrant. And describing how the seasons are changing as the party travels will heighten the sense of them being on a real journey. It doesn't take much time to write out a calendar and mark off the days as they pass, but that little effort can have a big impact on immersion. Combat can be one of the most exciting parts of D&D. Characters' lives are on the line, and everything comes down to a few rolls of the dice and your players' decisions. But do you know what isn't exciting? Reading off numbers with no flavor or drama. Giving good, evocative descriptions in combat can be the difference between a fight feeling fun and fast-paced, or just like math with extra steps. Playing D&D is not the same as watching a movie. Beyond minis or a few images on a screen, everything is taking place in your players' heads. Just like how a book needs to pull you into the action with vivid descriptions so you can see it in your imagination, you need to help your players picture what's happening in these fights. A few simple words can make an average fight good or a good battle great. This isn't hard to do. You don't have to be a master writer to make your combat engaging. In fact, having descriptions that are overly long can be boring too. But there's a big difference between saying, okay, first attack misses, second hits, 12 damage, great, got a bonus action? Or instead, describing it as, you swing your sword at the dragon and it knocks the first attack away with one of its claws, but you use that momentum to swing around and stab up under its outstretched arm, and you hear it roar in pain. Anything else on your turn? Even just a couple words can get the imagination going and keep your players focused on the fight. And just like with music, this doesn't have to all be on you. Your players can choose how they want to attack foes with their axe, or what it looks like when the sorcerer casts Fireball. Especially for epic moments like important crits and monster kills, getting your players involved in describing the action will take some of the mental load off of you while making your sessions even more fun. every hit doesn't need a full minute detailing the angle of the strike, how each muscle in the arm flexes, and the exact pitches of noise the monster makes. But a little description can help your combat feel more dramatic and thrilling, and your party's victories even sweeter. I don't think it's controversial to say that some rolls in D&D aren't quite as important as others. Orcus rolling to save against a banishment ritual that would send him back to the abyss with the fate of the realm at stake is just a bit of a bigger deal than the ranger rolling to loot bandit number 3's corpse. In those moments when the roll of a dice carries extra weight, you can enhance the drama for your players simply by getting them involved in the process. If you have a DM screen, rolling in front of the table is a way to instantly heighten the drama. Even if you never fudge dice rolls, there is something that feels more open and exciting about rolling in front of the board than keeping that fateful roll all to yourself. Be sure to explain exactly what number needs to show up before any modifiers are added. You don't want your fateful roll to be ruined because the players have no idea what the Lich adds to their save. For player rolls, I like to tell them the DC for important saves and checks before they roll, so they know going in exactly what they need to succeed. This is the same effect as when you roll out in the open, since there won't be any guessing once the dice falls as to the result. You don't want to hype up every single time a dice gets cast, that would ruin the magic of it, but adding just a bit of flair to those moments that mean more can add a lot of excitement to your table. Of the suggestions in this video, this next one probably takes the most effort, but depending on your party and campaign, it can be well worth it. A lot happens in any given D&D session. Monsters are fought, NPCs are met and questioned, parties travel through cities and towns, not to mention revelations about the setting and plot. As a DM, you're living in and thinking about the story and world a lot more than your players. So how do you help them keep everything straight? Writing recaps of your sessions can be beneficial to both you and your party. First off, they're just a great log to have that helps you easily recall details. Forgot what you named that NPC on the fly, or which tavern your party's ranger invested in last week? Just check the recap. Writing things down can also help you commit them to memory. Writing recaps forces me to recall the session in better detail, which helps me keep things straight as I plan out the next stages of the campaign. Besides yourself, your players might appreciate being able to go back and remember details that they've forgotten or may have missed. Especially if you had a player who was out for a session, being able to quickly read up on what they missed can help them feel better prepared for whatever comes next. In a less practical sense, having those recaps is also a great way to remember all the fun and weird stuff that's happened in your campaign. Months later, after dozens of adventures and antics, you and your party will probably appreciate being able to go back and remember the exciting, strange, and dumb events that make up the story you've told together. Your recaps don't have to be incredibly in-depth, and just like with most of these things, you may have a player who is willing to help write them too. But years later, when you're remembering past adventures, or next week when your cleric forgets what happened last session, you'll appreciate having them. I've talked a lot in this video about immersion, transporting your players to the world of the game, and getting them to feel like the decisions they're making and adventures they embark on are important. As they travel across the land, they'll undoubtedly meet lots of different NPCs to persuade, intimidate, save, or fight. And one of the easiest ways you can make your sessions even more immersive for them is to introduce recurring NPCs. I'm not talking about characters that players put in their backstory, which they know will probably come up again, or the harmless goblin that they adopted and now take everywhere. I'm talking about minor NPCs, ones who show up in one place, interact with the players, and then as a result of that meeting, show up again later, changed in some way. This could be good or bad. If the party saves a group of merchants that are being attacked along the road, they can show up in a town later and recognize your players, giving them a discount and info on the town. On the flip side, if your party is rude to or maybe wins some money from a bard playing at a local tavern, they may find him singing songs about a particularly inept group of adventurers later down the line. Having NPCs who pop back into the story will make your players feel like they have a real impact on what's going on, rather than just being pushed from one pre-planned event to the next. Of course, you might find that along the way, your players take a liking to certain characters, usually the ones you would have never guessed. That is such a blessing for you as the Dungeon Master. Want to guarantee your players are interested in the story? Throw their favorite shopkeep into peril, and I guarantee they'll go after whatever plot hook you have planned. Not every single NPC your party meets needs to come back later, especially if it stretches the imagination. Farmer Joe they met 4 towns back can stay on the farm. But having some recurring characters to showcase the results of your players' actions, as well as making sure to involve their favorites in the story, will only enhance your games. Those are a few easy ways to elevate your D&D sessions and make your campaigns even more fun and memorable for all involved. Do you have your own little things that you found turn campaigns from good to great? I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, leaving a like is always appreciated. If you want to see even more, you can subscribe to the Bard's College. I make videos like this one about D&D, DMing, and everything in that realm. So if you like this one, there's more to see. But for now, good luck, and remember, crit your players.